this is like, it's still one of those things that I'm like pinching myself right now that I'm talking to a legend of music, of life, of culture, of everything. And I've grown up with your music. It's I was saying off air, and I wanted to say it again to the Fleece Army, is that the Temptations to me are Thanksgiving dinner. They are comfort food. It's matzo ball soup, and I don't think this record could have come up at a more perfect time with the state of the world that we are in right now, with the election and the virus and all of this, to have this record like to come on the list. It's almost like the universe is like, all right, everybody, we're gonna be okay. Just know that we've got this beautiful music to listen to for the next week, and you're gonna be fine. And then next week when we do Tom Waits, it all goes back to shit. But until then, it's the Temptations. So being that you were there, man, and we're going to go through the entire history of the Temptations in the intro. But to start this off, because you were there and you are you, I want to know, what was your first remembrance of seeing the guys that would eventually make up the Temptations in the primes?
Well, I'll start with the first night that I knew I had the right nucleus was January 1963. Smokey Robinson had called for the Temps to come to Motown to record. Now, at the time, from the transitional period of Al Bryant, Richard Street, James Crawford, and Melvin was still with me. So that night it was Eddie Kendricks, Paul Williams, David Ruffin, Melvin Franklin, and myself. And as we were walking to the studio, it was a cold, chilly night, and something hit me. It's almost like, Otis, these are the five guys that's going to make history. So when we went to Motown and we met up with Smokey, and we went upstairs, and he passed out the lyrics to The Way You Do the Things You Do. Now, Smokey, he wrote I Want to Love I Can See and a few others before we did The Way You Do the Things You Do. So as Smokey passing out the lyrics, and he sat down at the piano, and he passed out the lyrics. So I'm reading the lyrics, and I'm saying, you got a smile so bright. Should have been a candle. Oh, I said, man, these some hokey lyrics here. I said, okay. Anyway, yeah, so we went downstairs, and we recorded it, and it turned out great. And I came back, and I looked at Smokey. I said to myself, Smokey's a bad man. I mean, to take something nonsensical and make it sense, make some sense of it. And so I never will forget that time, when we went in there for the first time to really get our first big hit record. And we were a working group even then, because we would always find places to work inside of, Michigan. And we were up in Muskegon, Michigan for about 3 weeks. And when we came back from Muskegon, David and myself, we came to Motown just to see what was happening. And one of the executives said, man, where you guys been? We've been trying to find y'all. I said, well, we working. We was up in Muskegon. He said, well, you got a hit. So he went and got the Billboard and the Cashbox magazine, because that's what was happening at the time. And David and I, we saw it. We jumped in, and I think like number 76 or 78 with a bullet. Motown at the time had a long chase lounge in the lounge. And him
Love
and
a good chase lounge. Love a good chase lounge.
Well, we sat on that chase lounge, and David took off his glasses, and him and I cried, because that was the first hit that got the Temptations, the classic five, as the world has come to know, started.
I mean, that is incredible. So, I mean, we're going to dive into The Way You Do the Thing to You in just a second. But that moment that you find out that you have that first hit, did you have any idea that it would become not just the song, but the Temptations would be Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, NAACP Hall of Fame, just one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, vocal group, R&B group in what I would call the history of mankind? Did you have any inclination?
No, I could not even take on all that. No, I mean, because all we wanted to do was just sing, have hit records, make money, and sing to the girls and get the girls. So for it to grow from that to all the way where it is grown to now, No, man, I'm not going to even say anything about, oh, I knew we were going to be, in AACP, this and that, and singing with President Obama in the Oval Office, Silent Night with one of our great presidents, and all the many wonderful things that we've accomplished. Oh, I could not even imagine that back in 1964, 65. Oh, no, not even
Okay, well then I
close.
gotta ask you this. What was the first thing you bought? When you were like, all right, I feel like I got a little bit of extra money right now. Like, what was the first little doodle dang you spent some money on?
Well, I've always been known as a clothes horse,
Oh,
so I would always buy, clothes because that's been my thing for the longest. And thereafter, I started, we were working enough for me to get my own apartment. So I started buying furniture for my own place in Detroit. So, but clothes and then, like I said, my apartment. And, so when you have the ladies come over, they would step in there and say, wow, this looks real nice. So I was
yeah, dude.
one, I was like 22 years old at the time, so it was
Oh,
that
just a
kind of fun.
baby. Dude, so this is why I feel like you and I, as I'm talking to you, are kindred spirits. So I
Right?
never had money my whole life either, and then I inherited 40 grand when I was 18. I gave half to my parents so they could buy their house back, and then I went so crazy on buying clothes. One day I went to the mall and I spent $2,000 on random fleeces.
Yeah,
Fleece, not
yeah.
not Versace, fleeces. And that is
Yeah,
why
right, right.
on the podcast they call me the king of fleece. So
Oh,
I knew it. I knew there was a connection between you and I. So let's dive into this record. So it is ranked JT, what is it? 401 or 400 on the list? It's ranked 400 on the 2012 list. And Harry, who is also is Harry mic'd? All right, so Harry. Well, so we have Harry here. Harry, do you want to explain to everybody who you are, because you'll be chiming in as well, right? Why are you on the microphone while we're talking to one of the greatest R&B singers of all time?
that's right.
Yeah. Oh, Harry coming trying to correct Big O.
What, what's that? When we went in the studio, 64. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. 64.
Well,
In fact, I said that opening line on one of our albums. I used that as a backdrop. It was the year 1964. Yeah, so you're right.
so actually, so like we were talking.
But you know why I mentioned 63? That was when David Ruffin joined the group, at the time when we had to let Al Bryant go. So when 64 rolled around, yeah, David was in the group, but it was 63. But go ahead on, Harris. What you was going to say?
No, no, no. We were talking right before we get started about having the original member on the group. This is also the first time we've had two people on the podcast if it wasn't live at like a comedy festival. So, dude, Otis, you're breaking barriers on so many levels today in music, podcasting. It's great, and we have to say this to the audience. There's a lot of tracks on this anthology, so we picked out the hits, some interesting ones. Excuse me, to show the direction of the power of the band and their music, and then also the evolution of the music as it goes further and further in through the anthology. So, the one I wanted to open up with is the way you do your thing. Let me take it again. The one I want to open up with is The Way You Do the Things You Do. So this is written by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles bandmate Bobby Rogers, and lead by Annie Kendrick's stunning falsetto. I just want to play a little bit of it real quick. JT, actually, let me take that again because Peter will get mad. Peter, play 150. All right. All right, let's just get through the chorus. You got to get through that part. Where you gonna be? I'll just sing it. Kill it. Kill it. All right, so this was your first big hit, and I just got to say, this is perfect. This is a perfect song. Tell me about your thoughts recording this, going through the process of getting this onto the record.
Well, the process, like I said earlier, was we sat down with Smokey and he passed out the lyrics. We went downstairs and recorded it. And like I said, I thought it was some hokey lyrics, but that shows the greatness of Smokey Robinson because he could turn something like Sound So Silly into really being fantastic. And so when the record was released, Motown was the kind of place that we would hang out at, even if we didn't have a hit or if we weren't recording, because it was just a fun place to be. So when we came up to Motown thereafter, when they released The Way You Do the Things You Do, the different promotion men and the executives said, well, you guys got one. You're jumping off in Chicago. I said, okay, great. But the one I really was waiting to hear was that, see, once you captured New York City, then you was over like a big dog. So when they said, oh, all the heavy, once you get New York City, you are flowing. So New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington. When they said New York, and next thing you know, The Way You Do the Things You Do took off. And we did tour after tour after tour after tour. I mean, we were busier than a blind dog in a meat market. So it was a great ride.
Can I use that? Because I love that. That's like my new favorite, like little throwaway. Yeah, busier than a blind dog in a meat market.
Yes, sir.
What I want to ask Otis is how does Smokey give you this song? Like, doesn't Smokey know how big of a hit this song was going to be?
Well, that shows you the greatness of Smokey. Smokey has not always just been about just smoking the miracles. And that's what made him such a wonderful friend and a great writer. Because if he had a great song, he would pass it around to not only the Temps, he did some songs on the Marvelettes, or he did songs on Marvin Gaye. Aside from the miracles, that shows you the greatness and the heartbeat of Smokey Robinson. He was not a selfish person, and he still isn't a selfish person, because I just had the great pleasure of seeing my friend about 3 nights ago. In fact, he's going to be on the Temptations 60th anniversary. I asked him, I said, Smokey, we're getting ready to do our 60th anniversary. And Derek, my wonderful road manager, him and I were writing. And when he mentioned Smokey's name, I said, you know what? I'm going to call Smokey, because I would love for Smokey to be on this new album that we're getting ready to work on. So when I got in touch with Smokey, he said, he calls me Oak, O-A-K. I said, Oak. He said, man, you're the strongest brother I know. You look what you did, all the great singers you had, you still standing. I said, well, thank you, Smokey. But I would love for you to be on this next album, because you got us started rolling with The Way You Do the Things You Do, My Girl, Since I Lost My Baby, and all those great hits. It's only right that you should be on this here great anniversary. He said, Oak, you just tell me when and where, and I'll be there.
I love that. Have you bought him anything as like a gift? Have you been like, dude, here's a trip to Bahamas or something? I mean, that dude has hooked y'all up.
Man, let me tell you about Smokey. Smokey's so rich, he don't even need a new pair of shoestrings to tie another pair of shoes. Aside from the richness, that he is, we gave him a picture of the original Temps, 1964 at the Greystone Ballroom, and I saw it on Facebook. I said, wow, Smokey still has that picture. What can you do for a guy that's wonderfully spiritually like Smokey? I mean,
sure.
Just his friendship is all I can ask for.
You didn't take him out for dinner? Take him to Benihana's or something? Just come on, a party one night.
You know what? We'd love to do that, but Smokey stays busy just as much as the Temptations. It was so ironic. Sure. A few months ago, we ran into him at the Bentley dealers ship, and I hadn't seen Smokey in quite some time since then. But every now and then we run into each other, and just like a few nights ago when we did a KTLA speech for the station, Smokey was there, and some of the Motown people that was from Detroit but lived in LA. So I saw Smokey about 3 nights ago.
Nice. I just love that you said you ran into him at the Bentley dealership. That is where I only can imagine icons hang out. That's not where I'm running. I don't, at the Toyota Prius dealership, I'm not really running into many people. Maybe a few, but not legends. So
Yeah,
you
right,
mentioned you mentioned My Girl, and I
right.
just want to play the opening real quick. Peter, play My Girl's opening. All right, kill it. All right, this has to be the most iconic bass intro in the history of pop music. And it takes me, I mean, just the memories that this song brings back. I one of my earliest memories of dating, I guess, was I was at summer camp one year, and I don't know if you remember that movie My Girl with Macaulay Culkin. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you probably
I
got
do.
paid for that. So yeah.
You
So
already know.
yeah, there you go. So I remember we're watching that movie. This girl, Jen, she was dating somebody else, but she had just broken up with him earlier in the day, and she told me that she liked me. And as that song's on, I like stood up on my chair like, she likes me. It's just such a beautiful song, and I
Yes.
mean, it's also the one that kind of made David Ruffin, who
Yeah.
was an ensemble singer up until this one. Um, so it's written by Smokey Robinson and another Miracles bandmate, Ronnie White.
Right.
As I mentioned, this is the first lead with David Ruffin. And I know Paul was considered the lead singer before Eddie took over, but with David on this one, was there any issues with the new guy taking the lead?
No, no, it really wasn't because see, being in Detroit, and we used to do a lot of record hops, and David was a solo singer before he became a Temptation, so he had that repertoire, that repertoire as being a noted singer to begin with. So let me tell you, when David asked to be in my group, I was astounded because I said, well, "You want to be in the Temps?" I said, because David would throw the microphone up, drop down to his knees, and he was very showman-like. So he said, "Yeah, man, Otis, I love there's something about you guys that I like, and I want to be a part of the Temps." Now, at the time, the Temptations consisted of Melvin Franklin, Eddie Kendrick, Paul Williams, and myself. Al, we had to let go. So David joined the group, and we started working out and developing a show. So one night, after The Way You Do the Things You Do became such a huge hit, we were appearing at a club called the 20 Grand. Now, Smokey came and saw us because the place was packed. And so we did our show and came off, and Smokey came backstage. He said, "Man, you guys are fantastic. I love you, brothers. Y'all are something else." Then he stopped and he looked at David Ruffin and he said, "I got a song for you." So us being young, we said, "Man, bring it on. We can sing anything." We had to leave the next day or so to fly into New York to work the Apollo, the Miracles, and the Temptations, and I forgot whoever else was on the show, but it was the Temptations and the Miracles. And in between the show, Smokey would have us to come to his dressing room, and we would rehearse My Girl. So after we did the Apollo, we flew back to Detroit, went into the studio, recorded My Girl. So we put the background on, and the track was there. So thereafter we put the background on, here come Paul Reiser. Paul Reiser came in there, and when he laid the strings and the horns to top it off of My Girl, I walked in the studio, and Smokey was sitting at the console. I said, "Smokey, I don't know how big a record this is going to become, but this is going to be a big record." My Girl was released December, about near the end of December of 1964. February, yeah, no,
That was like totally irregular. That I didn't.
sure did. And that February of 1965, we were at the Apollo, and Barry sent us a congratulations of We sold over 1 million records, and we were number one. The Supremes sent us a congratulations telegram, and the Beatles sent us a telegram congratulating us, and I still have it in my home today. So from that day on, boy, the Temptations has been rolling.
Which I love to know that it's like you would think that releasing it around Christmas is when everybody's buying gifts. So you'd be like, hey, we'll get them the My Girl single. Next question I want to ask, kind of a follow-up to that, is were you guys ready and prepared for what that fame was going to be like?
Only thing you can do is be dedicated and loyal and practice, because we were very prideful guys of what we do. So we were always rehearsing to stay, especially when we had hits. We really wanted to be, in conjunction with any of the other acts that was on the stage, that were good. And then we had the late, great Paul Williams that initially said, well, now we're not going to be an act that just would come out and stand the same. We have to become very showy. We have to sell sex. We got to become exciting. That's how the choreography came about. And so we constantly rehearsed. But when Motown had a department called Artist Development, and I had already heard of Charlie Atkins before I even met him. And when they said Charlie was going to be our choreographer, man, he spit shined us so good. I mean, because they were grooming us for the Copa. So we were always, as we are today, if we wasn't on this here pandemic, situation that we're in, we are always trying to rehearse to stay, really the way people have come to know and love us. I was being interviewed not too long ago, and the guy was saying all the accolades about the tips, this and that. I said, well, let me ask you something. If I'm 80 years old, if we're 80 years old, you don't want us to come out and know, Mr. Williams, we want to come out and see the Temptations still do all that choreography. I said, boy, we have been stigmatized with all that choreography that we cannot get around
it. I love it. All right. Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Once again, yes. Another iconic opening. Yeah. Peter, play the intro. If I had to beg. All right, kill it. All right, so little background on me. When I still lived in the Washington, D.C. area, I used to be a wedding DJ, okay? And I was like the most requested wedding DJ from 2000 to 2006 in the Washington, Baltimore, Virginia area. And there was a whole thing. You do the first dance with the bride and groom, of course. It's something slow. And then in the middle of that song, you invite everybody up to the dance floor in couples so they could dance with their partner. And then right when that ended, I had two choices of songs to get the audience going, get them dancing. One was September by Earth, Wind & Fire. The other song was this song right here. And it was a guaranteed everybody would stay on the dance floor and cut a rug. So I can't thank you enough, Otis, for making my job easy during
Glad
that
I could
time.
help out.
Such a great song, man. I mean, what is it like hearing this right now, just knowing that this song has transcended just music? Like, give me your thoughts and feelings of just hearing that little clip of it.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Norman Whitfield, him and I grew up together. He used to be the tambourine player for Popcorn Wiley and the Mohawks. So Norman would come by my house and he would bring a track by. He said, man, tell me what you think of this. So when I heard the drum roll and it went right in, I said, man, that track is smoking. He says, I thought so. So anyway, make a long story short, we went in the studio and we did the background. But the funny part of doing Ain't Too Proud to Beg, every time I think about it, I would sit up and laugh, and people that's around me, they would say, oh, this is what you laughing about. When David Ruffin went in, see, Norman would record the track a little bit higher key. And the reason being, he said, Otis, I don't want it to be too relaxed where, if you're trying to sing a serious song or a song that's got emotion and flow, it becomes too relaxed. So he bounced the key up a little bit. So when David went down there to put the lead on, they were just singing. He said, I know. And he was growling, he was screaming, he was growling, he was doing all that. And we up in the control. Come on, David, baby. Come on, boy. You can pull it off. Come on, David. Boy, this is a bad mofo. Come on, David. He's singing and he's sweating and what have you. And so when he finally did the song and he came out, his glasses were sideways. A pound of sweat was rolling off his face. So we all busted out laughing. But man, when they released that song, "Ain't You Proud to Beg," my God, it was almost same kind of popularity as "My Girl."
Oh,
So I always think about when that happened and how "Ain't You Proud to Be" came about. And I
so
must say, Eddie Holland wrote the hell out of those lyrics.
yeah. So it's written by Norman and Eddie Holland. Incredible song. But I also read that you guys were on the road and didn't know this was a hit until an hour before you were about to tape an episode of Dick Clark's American Bandstand. What's it like finding out, this song's a hit? You're about to go up, do Dick Clark's. I heard at the last minute, Motown ordered you guys to perform it, so Paul had to throw some choreography together. Is that?
Oh, I don't remember that more so than that came about with Get Ready. We were prepared to do Ain't Too Proud to Beg, when we found out that it was going to be released because Paul, we went in and rehearsed and we did the moves and what have you. So we were ready to do it. But what we had to do on a quick notice was get ready because Norman Whitfield caught Mr. Gordy coming into the office one day. And Norman was very pushy. I love him, but he would, he didn't take no for an answer. So I had the pleasure of seeing this happen. Mr. Gordy got out of his limo, going into his office, and Norman ran, Barry, I got a hit on the tips. I got a hit on them. And so Barry and them, they talked about it. So Barry said, I'll tell you what we'll do, Norman. I'm going to stick with Smokey Get Ready because he's had the hits on the temps. He said, but I'm going to release Get Ready. And if Get Ready do not crack the top 10, you got the next release. So Get Ready did what it did, but it didn't go into the top 10. And Norman got the release to Ain't Too Proud to Beg. So once we knew that, we started rehearsing for Ain't Too Proud to Beg. So when we did it on Dick Clark, we were ready. We were showing because there's no way we're going to go on Dick Clark half-ass. So we were ready to do it.
Yeah, dude, you can't half-ass Dick Clark, dude. Come on. Yeah.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No.
That's right. That's right.
I heard that. Yeah. Is it true that Barry would get the whole staff together and they'd play the record and be like, "All right, is this a hit?" Like, yes, yes, and it's literally like the Coliseum, like up down. I know I saw it in
Yeah.
the I saw because I just rewatched the biography movie that came on I think in like
Yeah. Right.
1998, and it's where he says, "Would you, if you had $5 to your name, would you spend it on a sandwich or on this record?" He really did that shit.
Yeah, they would have, I believe, every Friday, they would have a quality control meeting up in Mr. Gordon's office. And he would call, various people of the staff and his personnel. Um, and he would ask them, they would hold, I mean, one day I walked by and boy, they were going at it. No, I don't believe that. Damn that. What about this one? There was a lot of fervor going on in that. And I never will forget one day, see, if you want to make Mr. Gordon mad, be late. And one day I came by walking to the other end of the quality control, and Smokey was a little late, and Smokey was knocking on the door. Barry, it's your boy Smoke. Open the door, man. Open the door. It's smoke. Yeah, I guess he got in because I kept on walking. But boy, you don't want to make Mr. Gordon mad by being late. But they did have those quality control meetings, and they would be fierce. They would be fierce. And so whatever came out of there, please believe it was scrutinized to the max.
But that's how you get hits. That's why Motown is one of the most respected record labels in the history of music. I mean, you don't
Thank you.
get greatness unless
That's right.
you got to be hard. You got to be tough. You got to be real, 100%. All right, I want to change the mood a little bit because the next song I want to talk about is "I Wish It Would Rain." Motown staff writer Roger Pezabine. Thank God I got that right. Wrote the lyrics to this with Norman and Barrett. This is just gut wrenching. Peter, play 204. Kill it. I mean, so sad, yet so gorgeous, and such a departure from the songs we've already talked about. I read
Right.
Roger had just found out that his wife was cheating on him when he wrote this, and tragically, his unhappiness extended past his lyrics, and the week after this came out, he committed suicide on New Year's Eve, 1967. And the song and album in its name are after let me take that again. The song and album it's named after were big hits, but was that success bittersweet in the light of the tragedy?
Yes, it was. Sad to say, because Roger Penzabine was a wonderful person. We got along great. And I think he did "Please Return Your Love" and "I Can Never Love Another After Loving You." But sad to say, that's a true story about what happened to him and why it happened to him. So when we would sing it live, it always would bring back memories of Roger because he was such a special person. But when it becomes a matter of the heart, boy, that's a hell of a tug of a war.
Yeah.
And he got caught up in it, and I guess he said he couldn't stand it, and he did what he felt he had to do, even though you don't get to heaven by doing that. But anyway, it's a true story.
So tell me about starting to experiment with the other sounds that are going around that time and to come up with this.
Well, at the time we were coming off a fairly big hit, "Please Return Your Love," and so we were the Temptations. We were in New York City, and my good friend Kenny Gamble, him and I were talking in my room at the Warwick Hotel, and I will forget. So we just talking about records, show business, and what's happening. And all of a sudden we heard the dun 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 dun. So it cut into our conversation. I said, "Kenny, who in the hell is that?" And Kenny said, "I don't know. It's interesting." So we stopped talking and we listened to it. And when it went off, I said, "Okay, I'm gonna catalog that." So anyway, Kenny and I talked and we parted ways. The Temps had to fly back to Detroit, and I ran into Norman. I said, "Hey, Norman, there's a new sound out," and at this time, Dennis Edwards was in the group, so we had yet to get a hit with Dennis. I said, "Man, maybe we should try that because it's something different." Now, for those who do know Norman was a wonderful guy, but he was cocky as all get out. It wasn't too much you could tell Norman without him feeling as though he knew everything. So I said, "Man, we ought to try it." Man, you ain't heard no clowns. You'll be bop. He gave that ruckus. Temps went out of town, came back in. He had recorded the track to Cloud 9. So, I had to make fun. Oh, you said what? You wasn't going to? Oh, man, shut up. Come on, let's go in and cut this here. So we went in studio and we recorded Cloud 9 and we put all what it needed, our creation into it. And it was released. Now, mind you, the Temps had become quite spoiled. Just about everything that Motown would release on us, it would be going right into the charts, top 10, top 5, number 1, whatever. So when they released Cloud 9, I would call them into promotions and whatever. "Hey, where we at?" "Well, Otis, we getting there, but it's a little slow." "Okay, first week." So I called back the second week. "So what we're doing?" "It's picking up a little bit. It's still a little slow. It's so different, Otis." "Okay." I called back the third week and I got the thing of, "Man, the record is jumping off. It's picking up here." And they started naming all the different, cities that it was really beginning to take hold. And it did so well, we were the first group for Motown to bring home a Grammy, and that was
Yep.
1968.
1968, Best Rhythm and Blues Performance. Great song, totally deserving. I had mentioned it a moment ago about David Ruffin leaving the group. What was that like? If you don't mind talking about it, like what was that like having to make that decision to move on from such an integral part of the group?
Well, it was a hurting feeling because we had such a huge hit with David. We had a special kind of bonding. But I said this here: be careful of what you ask for. We ask for success, but success can really be like a strong aphrodisiac. You never know. When you start making money hand over fist and all the kind of adulations we were getting and doors opening up to us, and sometimes it can make you think you more than what you really are. And so that was the thing that happened with David. He started thinking more of an individual because David was a solo artist before he came to the Temps. And it got to the point that, we had to let him go. It was a parting that we didn't want. But David stopped thinking Temptations. He started thinking David Ruffin.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. So we had to call Motown and let them know that we had to get somebody else because David started missing shows. And Eddie Kendricks and I, we watched Dennis Edwards. And at the time, Dennis was still with the Contours. And we were at the Howard Theater in D.C. And Eddie and myself stood to the side and we said, that's who we should get. He's tall enough. He can sing harmonies and background, and the women will love him. And that's how Dennis got in the group, 1968, 67, 68. So, yeah, but it was bittersweet sorrow of losing David.
What was Motown's reaction when you had to make that call?
Well, they kind of expected it,
Oh, okay.
yeah, at the time, Don Foster was working up in the management department. And I had to call and I told him, I said, hey, man, David didn't make the show. And we can't keep going on like this. Yeah. So they drew up a letter relieving David of his, responsibilities to the group. So Motown kind of
They
had a
understood.
feeling it was
Yeah.
happening. Yeah, they understood.
Also, this is just hearing you explain it in detail. It's one of my favorite expressions is your ego is not your amigo, And
Yeah,
I'm not just saying, like you said, success, you start getting shine and I've seen so many people that I respect, artists, comics, actors, whatever. They just forget that it's what got them there, and they just get so focused on being, like you said, the solo performer. Um,
yeah,
so I can imagine how tough that was, but obviously, I mean, the right decision. Uh, and then you have another hit. I'm gonna make you
yeah,
love me. No,
yes.
please, Harry, please go. No, please.
That's right.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some beef.
Come on. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Hold that thought because that's going to lead into the next song's question that I want to ask. So the next song I want to talk about is "I'm Gonna Make You Love Me," and this is a joint single between Diana Ross and the Supremes and the Temptations. So you guys put out yeah, so you guys put out several records with them as well as had TV specials together. I just want to hear beautiful Diana's voice. Peter, play 118. This is the best part. I'm gonna make you. Oh my God! All right, kill it. So it's so great. This is what I love about doing this podcast is that like I had known the Supremes, and then we did the Supremes Anthology on the 500. They were originally the Primettes, the sister act to the pre-Temptation groups, the Primes, while you and Melvin were in the Distance. Now,
Right.
we know how deeply devoted Berry Gordy and Motown were to the Supremes. I wanted to ask you, we kind of touched on it in the last song. What was the relationship between the groups? And was there any rivalry?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the backbone. That's what made Motown thrive was the inner rivalry between all the acts there. But the Supremes were the Primettes and Paul Eddie and Kale. They were the Primes. My group was the Distance. So we knew each other. But Paul and Eddie and Kale had another kind of a friendship with the Supremes, Primes at the time, Primettes. So yeah, it just so happens to be that we all ended up at Motown. Shows you how fate can take shape because we had no inclination that my group would be at Motown, and I know how we got there because Barry asked me to come, and I brought my group, and then the Supremes had been coming there, like they said, from school. They would come up there to try and be part of Motown, but Barry, they said, would send them home, say, graduate first and come back later. So it was something that, as time and fate would have it, that we all ended up at Motown together. So it was a wonderful transition, but a very interesting transitional period to get to that point where all of us ended up being at Motown.
Did you guys like? I mean, I just gotta ask. Did you guys like do pranks on one another? Did you guys like fuck with each other? Like I'm gonna put a laxative in Diana Ross's coffee or just something like that. Did you guys do anything fun to like poke at each other?
No, no, we never did do
Oh,
that.
okay,
We respected them so, and
for sure.
no, we didn't get that kind of prankish, and then we didn't want the girls to get mad at us, and then the Supremes were taking off. We didn't want Barry to Temps. Y'all got to leave the girls alone. Now the one time Barry had to come to the Temps, and we were doing the Ed Sullivan show, so the
Uh-huh.
Supremes were doing our songs, and Temps were doing the Supreme song. But when we would rehearse, oh, we put all the juice into it. David was throwing the microphone up, dropping to his knees. Our choreography was sharp. And Diana saw what was happening because the stage hands and people were just applauding, just applauding. So I saw Diana walk over and she said something to Barry. Barry came up and said, fellas, lighten up the girls. Yeah, don't, give them a little break. Don't, so the five of us looked at each other and said, yes, sir, Baron. We are lighting up because Ed Sullivan, you don't monkey fart around being on Ed Sullivan. You want to go for the gusto.
Yeah.
So we were trying to make sure that, okay, we here, we're going to let you know why we were able to be on Ed Sullivan. But Mr. Gord asked us to, don't kill them, do what you do, but be gentle. But, they girls, I never will forget that. So five of us said, yes, sir, Mr. Gordon, we won't put all our gusto into it. We'll do just enough so the people say, yeah, they still attempts.
Yeah. I love it. Harry, do you have anything to add?
And you know what? Not to cut you off, but what I heard that Dee Dee Warwick had it out first, and I'm gonna yeah. So, but Dee Dee Warwick was so mad that ours became number one and hers didn't. she left the company. But that's what somebody told me. He said, man, when she saw that the Temps and the Supremes had a #1 record off what she had recorded first, and the company she was recording for didn't do it, she left. I said, wow, we didn't know that. But that's what somebody told me, oh, a long time ago now.
All right, right on.
Yeah, yeah, uh huh, yeah. Oh, it did. It worked out real good.
Oh, it's incredible. All right. Runaway Child Running Wild. So this has all of you trading vocals on this single version that went to #1 on the R&B charts. What I found interesting was so the song tells the harrowing story of a young runaway boy and the scary world he encounters before returning home. And I read that you have heard from lots of fans that were talked out of running away because of this song. When did you first realize the effect your songs had on society?
Well, I started realizing that once we got over into the political, side of, Cloud Nine, Runaway Child, Message from a Black Man, that's when people started saying, man, you guys are coming out with some very interesting songs. They weren't just love song, I love you, bushel in the peck, a hug around the neck. We had transcended that on over into talking about what was happening in the world at that time, and Norman Whitfield and Barry Strong were able to capture that in their penmanship and Norman with the production in. And, it just turned out to be a hit after hit after hit after hit because a lot of those songs that we were singing depicted what we were going through at the time. So we were trying to find some kind of release of tension in the world by putting out songs that was telling the truth, but hopefully you can find some enjoyment with the dance and the music and what have you. So, yeah, it was very political at that time.
Yeah. All right. Well, going with the times, the next one I want to talk about is Psychedelic Shack. So on this, Norman had you guys go all in with the psychedelic funk sound. Total departure from everything we listened to so far. Peter, play 210. All right, kill it. I mean, this is just phenomenal because I just love that the band was starting to push the direction that they were going in, and I, yeah, what, yeah. I mean, this is different than everything we've just discussed so far. I just have to ask because, like, I know the struggles several of the band had with substances and alcohol, but during this time, did any of you partake in any of the psychedelic experience during those years?
Well, I can say for certain I didn't. I'm not trying to sound braggadocious. I've always been, you learn a lot in show business and in life. And I saw a lot, still see a lot, but I learned about me. When I see something, I say, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I stuck to that. And I'm not going to sit here and say I was a saint. I definitely wasn't that. But I've always had a good, strong governor on me, maybe because of the way I was raised and what have you because show business and when you have had success like we have or you might want to become very experimental and which we did but there's a governor and there's a stoppage for me whereas far as and the truth be told the cocaine and all that free basing and the angel dust I no I didn't do any of that because I saw what it did to some friends of mine and I said no I have always got to be in control of Otis Williams. Now, my biggest thing, I was a chimney because I love weed. I mean, I smoke me some weed, but I don't even
Yeah,
do that anymore. So, but, one man's poison can be another man's feast.
sure,
I rather not feast on something that's going to bring me down. And I'm thankful to God that I'm still here, able to do what we have to do and got my own faculties. So that's a gray area, because we all handle success differently.
sure.
Where I will, you won't. Where you won't, you I will. So but no, I saw a lot, and it lets me know no, don't do that, Otis. If you want to be able to keep your faculties, and here I sit today being interviewed because of my two grandmothers instilled in me a whole lot of wonderful things that I carry forth today.
Yeah, yeah. It's always
I don't know, because a lot of times we would go out of town and come back in. Norman would have the track already. Once he got over to that Cloud 9 side, man, whenever we would come into town, okay, Norman, what you got for us now? Really? Okay, all right, let's go and do it, fellas.